Attaboy, good to see you, Eileen.
Hey there, how you doing?
Good, cranking out those Instagram videos I see. Awesome. Russell, how you doing this morning? You can press the space bar to talk.
Do you have you already have your class written, Jeff?
No,
Hey, we match.
look at that. Like twins. Hold on, go ahead.
Isn't it gray?
It's not gray, Adam.
Are you sure?
And that's purple.
Yeah, we're all purple today.
Did you think that was gray?
This is gray.
It is gray.
That's great.
You ask Mauricio. Stand up, come on. Probably.
Oh,
On film.
Oh, it does, it's purple.
No.
Yeah,
Is it really?
Uh-huh,
but like a gray purple.
a great purple.
Yeah,
No, it's not.
it looks dark.
It's definitely, it's really nice.
Purple goes with black.
I was talking to Sharon yesterday about her listing. And it made me think of you. And it made me wonder, and actually it was coupled with some feedback that we got from a seller that said they didn't know what we were gonna be doing next. And it made me start to think, should we have different phases of the listing where we have the perfect buyer phase, which is the first 7 days, and then we go into the most likely to sell phase, and then we go into generate offer phase?
Great. No,
So
actually,
they-
we talked about it several weeks
So
ago.
you get to day 35 on a listing. And they think you don't know what you're doing. They don't think you know how to generate offers. You can say, at this point, we're gonna enter into get an offer phase. I don't know, I thought there was something there.
Well, there is. I mean, for those that have been religiously coming, maybe most of you actually, right? Like what we talked about was the need for the establishment up front of telling them what's gonna happen. So maybe we should
Setting
create
expectations.
we should trade a chart that like, well, that's what.
We had one for the
Well, no,
coming
it's-
soon phase and all that, but not like you're talking about.
Right, because the perfect buyer scenario, people still want to list at that number in case a perfect buyer comes and buys it. So let's call it that. And then we have the most likely to sell phase, right?
Can you guys help me come up with names? You guys are following what he said? It's just what are the difficulties you're having with I mean, do you come here mostly to help you with listings that could not sell? Or are you guys here to learn how to get new listings? What is what you want? Eileen, let's go you first.
Sorry, wasn't
No,
letting
you're-
me hit the button. I would say, provide getting the expectations met to being successful with the listing.
Okay, that's why you came this morning?
Yes,
Awesome, good deal. How about you, Mauricio?
Honestly, I feel like if I don't go on an appointment every week, every month, whatever it might be, I can feel it not be as sharp. So I just like to come and keep it sharp. If that makes any sense.
That is actually why we put on the class is because we typically only hit list one house a month or two houses a quarter. And that's not enough to create the skill set. So thank you, because that is what you need to do is you need to continue to sharpen the knife. And it's, why I think what I'm going to talk about is what we're going to talk about, but I just want to hear from everybody else. Kevin, how about you? I love sharpen the tool because honestly, until I was listing 5 houses a month, then I feel that I'm clicking, right? So it's just how can we help you create that the confidence, the scripts, the talk of the moment. So we're going to focus on that today. But Kevin, what about you?
I need to get more listings.
Okay, awesome. Great statement. Russell, are you one of 3? Or are you addition thing? What are you here? What are you looking to get out of today?
I'm here to learn and take notes.
Okay, excellent. Clay. I know you're at work. You want to type it in the chat? All right, so what we'll start is we'll do a little bit on getting more listings and we'll do expectations and then we'll cover all of these in here.
He went on mute for a second.
Oh, Clay, if you want to unmute, you can talk. Who's unknown? That's just,
What? Oh, that's just, yeah. Spam. Sharpening the tool.
awesome. Good deal. All right. So getting more listings, the key is it's one word. You guys want to guess what it is? Adam?
Repetition,
Yes, but what's more?
practice.
Yeah, you're close. Okay. I mean, that's a practice repetition, but the word is contact. And then the second word to me is process, and then it's repetition. Right? I think of open houses as the best way to create meaning contact with people that own houses. Right? Owners of homes. So what is the largest place of what is our largest place of people that own homes that we individually have? Eileen, what is your largest place that you know where the biggest pool of people that own homes that are not listed? Where is that? In your what? Mauricio, you want to guess?
Past clients database.
Database, exactly. Right? So the best way, if you want more listings, is to talk to your sphere. Now, the reason is because of the success rate versus an open house. Right? Because the second place to me would probably be first, number one place, database. Because you sold them houses, you know they own them, and what is most important is you have rapport. That rapport declines over time, although we don't realize it. Right? The reason we do social media is the word is placate ourselves, meaning we push out social media that we hope the people in our database see it. Right? Or, because you have your common people that click on it and all that stuff. But the reality is this is just one channel of communication, and that we need to include calls and then emails and texts. And that, because what you're fighting for with the people in your database is for them to tell you who in their database. It's the extension of it, right? Because the reason we don't call our sphere is because we don't realize that there's so much gold in there. Because it's too easy to just get up every day and call all of our clients. It's actually not easy. We just believe it would be easy and everything else would be more productive. But the reality is that we used to do a slide, and this is why we're going back to it, is that can we see it over here? Yeah. So when you have a person that is your client, they know at least 50 people. And the way that the organization goes is that the Jeff Seabach, who owns a house, hang out with people that are renting. Not as much, right? I hang out in my neighborhood. So you're now talking to this person about their friends. Right? So to get to that level, though, you have to rebuild the rapport that's sliding since you sold them a house. So you need to create this so that they talk to you. Now, the best thing about calling your sphere is that you can start doing it today. It's why I was creating those scripts and putting them in the Facebook chat, is so that you can just, okay, I'm gonna make the decision that I'm gonna start calling my sphere. I'm gonna create a list of 20 a day, and I'm gonna create the carrots, and I'm gonna take it on my daily road, is because that's what I did to make myself more productive. When I'm showing homes, instead of listening to the radio, I'm calling past clients and saying hi, and I'm following Ford. And then I'm dangling a carrot that we suggested into calling the leads, because that will jumpstart your listings, because it's just, you have their number, they're gonna pick up, is what the big deal is because when you're calling through open house leads, you don't have the rapport that is needed to get them to pick it up, because they don't know enough about you yet, right? It's a date, essentially, because you're meeting someone. And it feels better because we, for some reason, we lose the appeal of the database. I don't know why. When we don't call it, it just seems like, but because they're going to know everybody in their neighborhood, or you're going to drop by, or you're going to look at a house, because you're trying to get after their friends. Because remember, they get up and go to work every day, and they don't work in a real estate environment, right? Everybody in your database gets up and goes to work at Taser, or they go work at the mill, and they talk to people every day. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to change their conversation. You're trying to inject stuff into the conversation so that they start talking more about it, because then they talk to her friends, and then you're like, if anyone mentions they want to sell, let me know, right? So it's a more, especially because as interest rates are starting to tick up, you want to start this building now, because there's plenty of people sitting in your database that are going to sell if prices begin to drop. Right? Like right now, no one wants to sell, but the reality is because they're not being able to control inflation, interest rates have started to get up towards 7. If it goes up towards 7, we're going to start to put on some supply. So, but just be aware that the last tick on inflation was up, and that I'm watching interest rates start to head north as they get to 7s. That's why you want to pick up these listings and then sit the open houses to meet the neighbors that maybe the client hasn't talked to. But then you also have if when you list your client's house, right? It's the idea is you would do a party, right? You would do a party to meet the neighbors, or a party to meet their friends. But I mean, again, you're just trying to increase the amount of people that you contact on a daily basis through calls, text, emails. All right, we're gonna move on to the second section. How's that for get more listings? It's why you, like, to me, you also, when you're calling the owner, if they mention real estate at any level, you should drop them off a CMA. Create more conversation about, well, I mean, I'm just preparing you if the market starts to move sideways or whatever, you may want to, whatever it is, you just want to talk to them at the marketing message of the moment. And that is, we are working on a program. I have a program that I'm working actively on that's going to create more listings, and that's going to be a marketing message that I'm going to put out. If this commercial real estate thing boils up the way I think it is, where I'm going to start, because people are sitting, the conversation is that if you want to talk to people about it is, how's your job? So now when we're talking about family and we're talking about occupation, when we're going through Ford with them, how are things at work? What you're trying to find out is, so what's on the rise that people don't know is refinances. So people are starting to try and get their money out because they're sitting on a ton of equity. And that's what our marketing program is gonna be targeting is that kind of stuff. All right, let's talk about expectations. Any questions on get more listings? Okay, where Phil was at is there are probably. I mean, Adam and I work diligently on creating listing videos. I have 9 to 12 of them. Because this is the challenge is setting the expectations, perfect buyer scenario. Pricing, which is coming soon to active. Right, so this is what I'm gonna say, the first 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how that rolls out, meaning how often do you guys think that the price, Eileen, what do you think? How long is the price good for from day one if it doesn't sell?
A week.
A week. Mauricio, what do you think?
I think it's like 3 to 4 days, but with the how bad agents are at flipping data, I think it's closer to 7 days that is actually like viewed.
Great. What do you think, Kevin? How long till you should actually change it, like absent of what the seller thinks? When would you switch it? If you could switch it is my answer. So Eileen, I'll go back to you. Is that a week for you? If you would, if it's on the market for a week, you would switch it, and then how much would you change the price by? Let's go with, is 500,000 a good number? You wanna go 400,000 as our sample listing? Is
500 is
fair?
fine.
Okay, good deal. On a $500,000 listing, you list the house at 500,000. And now you get to, you're in control of the world. Doesn't matter what seller says. Seller says, I trust you implicitly, Eileen McKenna. Right? We have these, right? We're gonna go with you stay. When do you change it and what is the percentage you change it?
Depending on what kind of traffic we had would depend on the amount. So if we really didn't get any, then we know that we're out of the ballpark and would probably
Okay, so
do
what do you
a,
tell somebody when they're listing at 500,000? What do you tell them that traffic's going to be? Are you having a specific conversation regarding traffic expectations? Because we're in this bucket right here. We covered this one. And now we're moving to this one, right? But
Mhm.
what is, and I'm gonna ask each of you, what is I'm gonna call it T. What is the T? What is the traffic that you're indicating? Because you signed the listing agreement here.
So if we had no traffic through the open house or the coming soon showings or the first weekend, I would say that
No.
would
First
probably,
answer my question. How much traffic
Sorry.
do you have a conversation with them before? Right, like, meaning, let's say we sign the agreement. Is this a fair scenario? Sign agreement.
yep.
How many times are you having a dedicated conversation with both parties to talk about traffic? After it's signed?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm understanding the question. Say it again.
Right, how many times do you drive over to the house and say, you know what? Great, we're about to list the house, let me talk to you about traffic. I'm assuming that nobody does that. Does anyone do that?
No.
not in person, but there's a conversation that's had.
Okay, right. So then when you're saying that, Mauricio, great job, because all of you need to have that appointment after it's signed to talk about this is the setting of the expectations. Right? I mean, the idea of setting we use the Evernote notes delivered as an opportunity for you to call, to talk to them, to revisit. Because remember that during the signing of a contract, their mindset is changed because they've talked to 3 or 4 or 5 different people about price at that time. So they receive a range of prices. In this case, let's say that they got 525, they got 515, and they got 500, and they got 475 from you, or 500 from you, right? Because we're listing this house at 500. So now after they sign it, because then there's the photos and the you know, I'm gonna say 3 to 4 days, is that fair? Before it hits coming soon, Adam?
It just depends, yeah, after we get it cleaned and ready.
Cleaned and ready. So now so you have it over the phone, Mauricio, that's good. Kevin, are you having that conversation? If you're not, you need to, right? So Eileen, what would you tell them at 500,000? How many people are you expecting to come through that $500,000 house? During this conversation, this is called a traffic conversation.
Say 10 to 15.
Wow.
To the open house or showings?
Great.
Combination.
Yeah, okay, but this is the point, is that you need to, what it is this is your chance to articulate your experience. And remember, your future telling, but it's your chance to set the expectation, right? Because we have 3 types of traffic, right? I heard open house traffic, if it's scheduled, which means we need to be aware.
You can't see down there.
Okay. Thank you. So during this, because you can, this is a T, this is us excelling at listings. So we're gonna have this traffic conversation, and we're gonna talk about the 3 types of traffic. So I heard open house traffic, obviously, if you established open houses, because you know that sellers don't think open houses work, you have to have a script for telling why, right? 61% is the script, 61% we found the buyer, 61% of the time through an open house. I wouldn't deny the stats are real. If anyone's telling you that you don't want to do open houses, it's because they're lazy. Just remember, anyone that said it, it's because they don't want to have to sit them in the heat. That is our, basically it. So you said realtor showings. What are there's another, I think there's 5.
Fire showings.
Who said that? Mauricio, buyer showings, right? Because it's realtor showing is that a preview?
Yeah.
Okay, preview. Buyer showings. What are the other definitions of traffic that you're talking about?
Online.
Online traffic. And there's one more piece.
Inquiries.
Increase, yeah, increase. Right? What is the HOA? What is the access? What is the electric bill? What is the solar bill? What is the, right? Right, so to me, you start to demonstrate your expertise because now there's no surprises. So now, Eileen, how many people are you telling them that are gonna come through the open house?
Probably about 10.
10. Okay,
Well, that's kind of what they are lately. Because there's not a lot of
I thought-
inventory, so people are
I-
going untethered.
I knew your number was right. I believed
Oh.
you. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was asking you because I'm not out there. And the open houses that I visit, there's always traffic. So I believed you that 10 seemed very reasonable because when the last two open houses I went on my bike, somebody else was there. So people are still going to open houses, right? But you said it's 15 total, so I'm gonna get 10 for the open house. How many are gonna come through how many people are gonna, between when you
Preview.
list it? Yeah, preview, a couple.
Maybe two.
Two, okay. How about independent buyers calling?
Calling or actually coming through with a realtor?
Coming through like a sign call, where a buyer calls you and says, hey, I'd like to see that house, or we receive a direct communication person through the, you know, and it could be 0 to 1. I mean, it doesn't have to be, because you don't
Mhm.
know. But the point, and more importantly, is you're talking to them about what the expectations are. So when you can just talk to them about these expectations instead of talking about price, right? Because these expectations are what big word, right? Because we have, all right, so how many people are gonna look at it online, Eileen, or let's go with Kevin Isaacs? How many people are gonna look at it on Zillow, through the, because it's not just Zillow, we have MLS stats, right? And then we have to say realtor.com too, or no?
Yeah, you can use it.
Okay, but the thing is, again, you're just trying to set the expectations here. Okay, and then your query, so how much online traffic, Kevin? Yes. Right, with an open house, we have a heart and a V, saves and views. Are we using that nomenclature? Right? Hey, I just want to let you know what's going to happen as soon as we list this house. We're watching. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk to you about what I'm expecting. And then based upon what happens, then we know what it is, because we have, you know, we've sold now $2 billion worth of houses. We have a lot of data and understanding that no longer it's questions once it happens. It's just what it is. You know, I mean, we're selling 99% of our listings right now. So there's no, I'm just updating you here. But so now you said 15, so we'll say 1 and 1. So, but our online traffic, Kevin, could you, Russell, you want to take a guess at what this $1,000 listing? I'm assuming you guys aren't looking at this stuff regularly then, because if we don't know the answer, that means that we're not, you know, obviously, Russell, I know you're not listings. Mauricio, what's the number? Do you know? How much online traffic, and then meaning how many views on Zillow, and then how many saves on a 500,000?
I think in the first weekend, if you've got anywhere from like 350 to 600 views and anywhere from like 10 to 20 saves is a pretty solid first weekend. I mean, if it gets to 1,000, it's either great photos or priced pretty well.
Yeah, I would say 1,000 in the first week.
Okay.
1,000 in the first week, and between 10 to 20 saves would be good numbers.
Okay, right, so this is what, obviously, if you know the number's high, meaning if you know the list price is high, then this number you should set say, we're looking for 1,000 online views the first week. Meaning, so when it comes in at 500, now you have it's okay, but we're priced for perfection. So we didn't get that. Right? We're priced to start for the perfect buyer. The question is the perfect buyer going to come now, or in 90 days, or 120? You typically get only 1 or 2 perfect buyers per property, unless it's 300,000 or 250, then you can have 10 perfect buyers, because there's just not a lot of buyers in that range. Is this recording? Awesome. But the point is so good, right? Especially focusing on the saves here, right? I know, to me, the nomenclature I like to use a lot is once we get 15 to 20 saves, we're gonna have an offer. Right? If we're not accumulating saves, and if we get the 20 and there's no offer, we know it's priced.
On our listings that have sold this year, the ones that got above or at listing price sold within the first 10 days.
Great stat. So, right, by day 10, if it was going to sell, it would have sold at the current list price. That's great. Do you know what percentage it is?
What is that? How many of them? Or what percentage?
What percentage of the listings sold after 10, within the first 10 days?
There was 5 out of the 14 listings we've done closed so far.
Wow.
What was the
Yeah.
percentage again?
Well, it's 5 of 14, it's 1/3, 30%. I'm sorry, 40%. 7 would be half, yeah, almost 40%, 37.5%, 38%. Right, so that's a great stat, thank you, right? So 38% of our listings sold in the first 10 days because they were priced appropriately. And so what we do is we look for the traffic to tell us whether we should adjust sooner or later. But the key is telling them, so basically, on day 10, we're reducing price no matter what. Because if we're at day 10 and we haven't received an offer, we know it's priced. But also, we know that you're going, because did the other 9, Adam, when they went across this border, did they all drop price?
Yeah.
So great job by the agents, obviously, if they're, but no, they drop price eventually, right? But how long does it typically take for them to drop price?
That's our average days on market is 25 days on market.
Okay, all right.
And that number is 31%. It's 16 total listings.
Oh,
So 31% of our listings sell in the first 10 days above asking.
right, and that just means that sellers are too optimistic of their price, right? Like the main thing in understanding expectations is that sellers always think their house is worth 10% more. Always. Like, we're gonna have summer here. We're gonna have fall, and sellers are gonna think their house is worth 10. I mean, the average list price now is higher than it was in 2021. Right? Because most agents just list the house at whatever their seller wants to list it at. That's how they win. But so if you want to win more, fudge high.
Right now, we sell our homes 92%. Original list price is what we get.
Wow. That's not.
But once it's been reduced, we sell it at 98%.
Ah,
So sales price to original list price is 92% on average. Sales price to current list price after a reduction is 90.
right, which is good because that means you guys are coming in higher.
When the list.
Right, we should be coming in higher. Meaning, if you think it's worth 500, you're gonna have to tell them 525 or 550 to win the listing. Because do you guys hear the Adams talk about that price? Do you understand that? I don't know that I would use it.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
not the best stat to share.
It's not the best stat to share, but
But that second one is.
it's to give you, right, so 90, when they ask you, what is your list to sell rate? The answer is 98%. But the reason is because we've adjusted price. What it means is after 10 days, we're just not gonna get that price. We know that that price is no good. That we have to make an adjustment because the market thinks it's lower.
And when they're saying, well, we're just gonna get low balls if we reduce our price. We can say, no, when we reduce our price, we get on average 98%.
Yes, right, yeah, that's a great stat, right? When we reduce price, we still get 98%. What it means is, if you're getting low ball offers, that means you're listed too high. Right? Because we have houses that get full price offers right away. There's actually very seldom, I mean, how often do we list a house and it sells for 20% over asking?
That's one.
Right,
1% of the time.
Right.
It's over it.
right, because everybody's fearful that we'll list it too low, when the reality is most houses we're selling most of them at 98% of value, not, if that was the case, then they would sell at 100. Like, that's what was going on in 2021, is we were selling houses on average at 101% of list price, which is amazing. But the establishment of talking about the traffic, and then what we talked about in the past in this meeting was you being a play-by-play analyst. Right? If you ever watched any sports, there's always a guy on there, and he's the guy that is the expert. Right? I think of basketball or football or soccer. There's always Lexi Lawless or whatever, the US soccer player that used to be on, I'm talking to Mauricio. But who else likes soccer out there? But the reality is you're discussing the traffic based upon where the price is. So you're talking to them, well, we were hoping, right? So for 15, 10 at the open house, if it's $1 million, then we're thinking that number's maybe 5 or 6. And then maybe you tell them 10 anyway. Maybe you always tell them that we are expecting 15 people at the open house. Oh, well, traffic didn't come out. Well, then that's because price. We sell our houses for 98% of asking price. So if it's not selling right away, then we know that we have to adjust by at least 2%. You guys want to ask questions? What do you want me to talk more about? I mean, I think we sharpened our tool. I think we hit the expectations, and I think we talked about getting more listings. Is there more questions out there?
I have a
Russell?
question.
Great.
Yeah, if the seller is pretty adamant about asking for $550 instead of $5, which you suggested, we're not going to get 98% of $550. If we will wind up taking it down. But I'm just saying, if they're adamant about keeping it at a higher
My
price,
answer is listed at 550, and just tell them we're going to watch the traffic. So what happens is typically, if the price is, what the point of it here is that when we're priced well, we're looking at 15 inquiries through the coming soon in 10 days. So if we don't get to that level, then we know that we're priced above the value. So we know that after 10 days, our recommendation is, because our numbers drop off at that point, is that we know that you're going to have, because no house, typically they don't sell after they haven't sold if we stay at that price. Actually, our numbers are 0 of them sold longer, because obviously, because we're on average listing our houses 8% above the sales price. So we're doing a good job. So Russell, essentially that's, if it's going to sell at 500 and we're at 550, that's almost normal, because that's 10% and it's 8%. You would just tell them, here's what it is this was always my debate for them is, how long do you want to risk being priced for the perfect buyer is the question, because the longer it takes you to drop price, the lower the number goes. Meaning,
yep, that's true.
Right. So meaning, your number doesn't go up the longer it's on the market. Our average house sells in 25 days because we adjust price every time. If we didn't adjust price, our days on market would be much higher. But the key is letting them know that we have a rush. It's kind of like fresh movie at the popcorn, like you go to the movie and they're cooking the popcorn when you walk in, there's a rush there. Or what's something that's served where they're, selling houses is like mealtime at the prison. Right? Meaning there's an early rush of everybody, right? And then it slows down. That's just like it's your job to convey that it doesn't, the food's cooked, it's hot. It starts to become not attractive. I think that's a better analogy, right? Like, it's kind of like, at the buffet, right? When you go to what is the most famous buffet restaurant out there?
There's
Ponderosa is the one I went to as a kid.
Sizzler.
Right? Have you been to one of these restaurants, right? Like, so meaning, once that steak is sat out and it was medium rare, and now it's been cooking and it's kind of medium well, and it's getting dried out, right? Like, everything loses its luster. I mean, it's no different than women putting on, or getting facial surgery as they get older because their face is like, the reality is things age. Whatever kind of analogy you want to say, but you're like, once it's past it, the fruit that's sitting on the counter, it's going to start to, like the apples, the oranges, like after a couple days, they lose. It's the same thing. Like, just what I'm trying to do is there's certain things that you have to help them get there. That's why I use analogies, is because it helps them understand, because they think that their house is out there and it's just blaringly beautiful, like for the first 50 days. Like, the reality is, once we get past the early period, we know it's not as pretty as it used to be. Great
The
question.
initial rush.
What's that, bud?
It's the initial rush. There's not more than one initial rush.
Exactly. Very well said. Thank you, Russell. There's only one initial rush. There's actually a second rush if we switch agents, meaning if Eileen lists the house and it's getting here, she may switch it to Mauricio, and you get a second rush if we want to switch to another team member. That's a tactic I like to use late in listings is, okay, we're now past this. We got to move to the second rush period, in which I'm going to refer you to Kevin Isaacs on our team, because he's going to list it now to get that second rush. Like, meaning whenever you relist, that's why that works when they switch agents. When you're going in after, right now, we can create a second rush.
You can create a second rush by doing a big price drop.
A price drop creates a rush, right?
10% would cause people to come.
Yes. So they'll because they're like, well, how do I create that rush now? You can't. It doesn't exist, right? Like, the first time that steak comes out, like it's its freshest, it's its best at that moment, right? Like, that's just the reality of what happens at listings. I like the fruit analogy a lot there. It's fresh now, right? That avocado needs to be eaten today. If not, it starts to brown, and then, right? Like we can't help the evolution of time. Days on market means that now, because now it's not as pretty as it once was, because everybody's passed over it. Meaning, if there's no rush, then you weren't priced appropriately. Great question. Other questions? Welcome, Carlos.
Finally.
Well, you're gonna see it in the CBOC team chat. Now I can take a video and I can chop it up in little pieces. Like, this is gonna be great. We're gonna dial this shit up. But the idea is that setting the traffic expectation always helps you with price. To reiterate, we'll go through the three things, right? If we're gonna get more listings, it's contacting more people that own a house. That's the lowest common denominator. Is that, where do we know the most amount of people that own a house? Obviously, our database is number one. Number two is probably open houses. Three, well, neighborhood for sure. What the thing is what we're looking for, because of our database, what we're looking for is, we know that they're, especially after they have just transacted, they're talking about moving. So who are the people they're going to associate with? The other people that they know that are moving. Because they're talking at lunches, they're talking at dinners, they're talking at work, they're talking about the moving process. So then other people want to share stories about it. And some of those people may not have engaged a realtor or not. And that's why calling through your database is the key to get more listings. Is because they own a house and they're gonna, especially if they just, if they just moved, it's the best time to call them within that first 10 days to 30 days of, oh my God, how's your house, right? Who else have you been talking to about moving? Right? Do you know anyone else out there? If you have any referrals for me, I appreciate it. If you post a referral on Zillow or rate my agent for me, I super appreciate it. That call to your past clients you just sold a house to. And of course, the people visiting the open house, right? Looky-loos are actually neighbors thinking of moving in the next 2 years. That's why we need to drop off a CMA. Because the past client, you can get away with not dropping off a CMA because you have rapport. You have rapport. Your words can carry further with them because then they remember how great you were as a person and they talk about it. But in the open house, why you have to drop off the CMA is because you haven't established that. But they will remember the sign on their neighbor's house. When you drop it off, they remember the sign and they remember you because their business card's in there and they call you. I know that for sure. Expectations, the key is the communication gap between when you sign the contract before it's listed during coming soon is that having that one call conversation, talk about traffic. And then your chance to update them every time someone contacts you from one of these 5 ways that they can find out about your listing, you should then be communicating that to the seller. Why do you communicate to your seller? Is so you have a chance to give them feedback. The seller wants feedback. Always, every time. The feedback is these people, you're going to reach out to them. That's the challenge of it is do we reach out to the interested parties on our listings to get feedback? And the way that we elicit feedback is we ask one really strong question. The really strong question is, at what price would your buyer have offered? Not, what do you think is price? At what price, right? At 500,000, let me ask you, let's just talk conceivably. I don't know that my seller is going to come down at all. He really wants 500, but if it was listed at 475, would they offered? At 450, would have offered? Well, we would have offered at 425. Hey, I talked to the seller and they said they would, I think this buyer is probably not our best buyer, but they said they thought it was worth 425. I asked them, would they make an offer? And they said no, because they think it's only worth 425. Right? This is not my opinion. This is what that buyer said. But see, you pushed the envelope on that discussion because you quantified it for them. The query about HOA, are you guys thinking of writing an offer? No, they said they're not thinking about writing an offer. They said they'd be interested at 440. But that way, you're blaming the traffic for giving the negative feedback, not you. Let the traffic deliver the bad news. I talked to that realtor. They saw it online. Their client saved it. They came to the open house. I talked to them in the open house, and they said they're going to pass because there's another one around the corner that they're making an offer on that's nicer for the same price. They would have to get our house for 460, which of course they're not going to make an offer because if it's at 460, If they think the value is at 460 and it's listed at 500, what are they gonna have to offer Kevin Isaacs? 420. Right? And nobody's gonna make an offer of 420 on a $500,000 house. That's why offers don't come in on overpriced listings. Is the buyer, nobody wants to waste their time chasing something they don't think is gonna come together. And it's unrealistic to think that you're talking making that offer now. 10% off would be 450. You're talking 15% offer or lower, right? But you're now able to have that conversation because you took the negative and you presented it as that is the buyer's feedback. That's not mine. We're still over here. It's just that all the buyers now are talking about lower numbers and we haven't received any offers. So it's reasonable to think that we're priced a little too high. More questions? Please. Awesome. I'm here for you. I'm going to put this out in video on the CBOC team chat to wrap it up, to remind you guys. I appreciate it. If you got any more questions, if not, we're going to wrap it up. I'll give you 20 more seconds to ask a question.
And now, of course, I missed half the clock. What, 90% of it. However,
ask the question.
So I'm in a spot where how do you, I guess, talk to your client whenever you're priced, the house is 2 years old, we're priced, you only literally have one difference from a brand new house down the street. And the floor plan is 60 feet, their floor plan is 60 feet bigger. How do you have that conversation that we're going to have to come down because we've gotten no offers in a month and a half?
Yeah, the answer is you got to give them analogy, right? So what is the analogy? It's kind of like when you buy a new car, right? It's worth what the price is when you go buy the car, but as soon as you drive it off the lot, it's worth less. It's like used furniture, right? Like the reality is that we can't recreate the first instance. The answer is, Carlos, is you need to prepare them before the traffic comes through to talk about traffic that you're going to have on your listing. Right? Like, meaning if you don't set the expectations early, to me, we're competing against new homes. And the mindset that you have to work on in that instance, especially if it's a new home, is the new home person has an advantage because they get to pick what they want and it's brand new. Right? Like the world rewards brand new. Right? So the question is how much are we going to be able to gain having it be a little smaller and now, it's just talking about your house is used, right? So meaning it's still in good shape, but they may not like the finishes that you picked out. So why new homes sell more is people can pick out any finish. But once it's listed, Carlos, it's your job it doesn't matter what our thoughts are once it's listed, because that is the marketplace. It's just like a stock price. The stock price is the stock price, no matter what. The house price is the house price. If we're not getting offers, we have to do something different. And that's what you have to ask them is, you think we're going to market different, but the thing is we're selling our houses in 25 days. We're good at this. Right? Our team average is 25 days for a listing. So the market is really good. You're just priced above the range because you're not getting offers. We would know because what is the traffic? Offers sold. Is the traffic what we thought it would be? That's what you asked, and it's not. It's not because our marketing's bad. It's because we sell houses in 25 days. Our marketing is great. It's just if we're not getting traffic, then we're priced above the range of where the traffic. The chart, Carlos, is on the drive. There's a pyramid chart. That's what you need to send to him. Trying to think what document that's on.
That was on the listing
Yeah,
class.
it's the pyramid that overpriced, overmarket, undermarket, that blue one.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was on the listing class, Doc. We have it there.
yeah, the listing class doc. How to win a listing checklist.
Also, new builds come with a warranty.
Great point. Warranties are no longer, go ahead. The warranty doesn't extend to the new buyer. Go ahead.
And new builds don't have the property taxes built into them until they're sold. And the one that he's using, the used one, already has the property taxes listed.
Awesome. The point is you got to use visual representation to show people why we're gonna. I don't know. Is there a camera?
Yeah, it's a bit all.
He's gonna show the chart. You take a picture of it if you haven't.
I can send it to you.
A little higher. Turn it the other way. Yep. This is the chart I'm referring to. Is that? I mean, the mentality that you have to work on, Carlos, with somebody is. Do you not? I mean, I'm struggled with the question is what did they buy it for?
260,
And what is it listed for?
280.
Yeah, that's why they're thinking that they're upset they're not gonna get their money back. That's a harder hurdle for people to get over. People think they buy houses that they should get all of their money back. It's an investment. The question that the point that you're gonna have to talk to them is do you want to own this for 6 more years until it's worth it? Is it worth to own it that much longer? Or do you want to reduce price and take what it's worth now? I mean, what is the cost of owning it a lot longer? Is it vacant, Carlos?
No, it's occupied, and
Well, that's the person that's unmotivated. The answer is usually you have to find them where they're going next.
well, we already did, so they're set on a number because they require that number to put a down payment on their next house. So,
Yeah, that's, I mean, unfortunately, that might go south. I mean, is your market rising in price?
no,
Then you would share that with them. I'm sorry, the market's not rising. I mean, it's just, we may have to cancel the question is you gonna have funds from somewhere else? Are you gonna pull it from a 401k? Right, to me, you gotta try and source other funds if they want to, because this house is, I mean, we're continuing to market, has the traffic slowed?
yes, considerably.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, it's just a tough situation, but
Yeah, I mean, it is difficult. It's a 2-year-old home and they're building brand new, same floor plans, 2 blocks down the.
I mean, the thing is you should suggest to them, I'll tell you what, we'll switch it to, is it Stephanie? Or Melanie?
Melanie,
Melanie, I'm gonna switch it over to Melanie because we get a new bump. Okay, but we need to do it with a price reduction because clearly we need to go to at least down by a minimum of 3%. Yes, 3 to 5% is what you need to make a difference, right? Because think about that, Carlos, what you didn't hear earlier is the average house we sell sells at 92% of the original list price, but it sells 98% of the current price. I would use the one that's like our average houses sell 98% of price. So if we're not selling it, we have to lower the price to get closer to where the buyers are, and that buyers look cheaper first, not more expensive first. When you go to buy anything, if you're going to buy something for 25,000, do you start looking at stuff that's priced at 30,000, or do you start looking at stuff as can I get it for 20 or can I get it for 18? People work lower, higher, not higher, lower. And that's what is that person's not understanding is, unfortunately, there's other stuff that's available that's similar to you that's priced lower. It's a difficult situation either way, Carlos, what you're in. Don't get tied emotionally to what happens there because it's going to be tough. Great feedback. Thank you. That's the listing class. Happy Wednesday. Go get it. I'll put out some videos so you can re-see the points. Happy Wednesday. Thank you.